Hey folks, this is Storm331 back to doing some more impromptu streaming today. We'll be doing Final Fantasy V Forge Out Fiesta Geyser Run a little bit later today around 3 p.m. Hope everyone's having a good morning. Today we're going to get two of the character guides out of the way. We'll be covering Adol first, and then we'll be doing Loxia. We'll be taking a break in between these guides. We're going to be doing a character slash skill review guide. This is basically going to go over their strengths and weaknesses, their skills, and give you a pretty good idea as to where what their skills can be used in terms of what happens when you level them up and to max and whatnot. And we're going to be getting started with that right now. If you enjoyed the content that I've been putting out, feel free to sub to my YouTube channel, which will be exported. These will be exported right afterwards, as well as also be sure to follow me on Twitch. Both follow and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. I'm not the best talker or whatever, but I will do the best I can to do a good job on these guides. So without further ado, let's begin. Being the main protagonist of the Ys series, Adol Christin, for most of the games that follows his adventures, prioritizes his adventures from the age of 16 to his passing of age 63. And so far, these 10 adventures we've seen thus far of Adol's life are only pretty much a tenth of what his actual records of his adventures are. He had about at least 100 adventures in his lifetime. I don't think we'll be able to see all of that throughout the entire in our lifetimes, but Adol's adventures are very interesting in general because he goes to see a lot of places, but at the same time, adventure finds him rather than he finds it. But anyway, in terms of as a playable party member in this game, he's basically the more well-balanced party member of the team. I did give him the Bestial Potion earlier, so he has a 100 plus HP plus 3 on strength and defense. He also received an additional 5 strength boost for fighting in Sylvia's side quest. So he's not the only party member that got it, because Loxia and Rokota right here also received plus 5 because that brought them into the fight as well. But technically, against the rest of for all party members, including Adol, I try to avoid using any of the life, strength, and defense potions while doing the playthrough, so we can get these guides all set up. So hopefully this will give you a general idea of what to expect. The only things I don't take into subtracting are any stat gains you permanently get for completing party member side quests and giving them gifts, because Adol does receive 200 HP and plus 2 on either strength or defense for doing those requests for those party members. So those won't be subtracted from the total. But anything, and Adol's default weapon, which is currently the Missile Tane, doesn't have any stat boost or whatever, but it does give him a plus 20 on defense. So that would put his defense probably right around 390 without that. And once he goes back to a Hyperion sword in the true ending route, it'll go back down to about 15. So currently, if we were to subtract 418 from 20 on his defense, that would put him about at least 398 in general. So basically, his defense would still be about at least ranked 3rd of all the party members here. So in terms of stats, Adol is pretty much well-rounded. He has probably the 4th highest strength as well as the 4th highest HP. Of course, he's actually higher than Donna because of the Bestial Potion I gave him earlier. But technically, if it wasn't for that, he would be 4th on HP overall, because Donna would be a lot more higher by 250 more than his. And of course, he has the 3rd highest defense, even without the sword upgrades in comparison to the rest of the cast. So he's basically all-rounded. His skills are definitely tailored to help him basically cover just about every range of the battlefield. None of them, as far as I know, give him any status inflicting elements, but most of them are all geared to help him get whatever needs to be done. And we're going to be showcasing the skills. So I'm going to mostly tell you about the skills, but mostly what happens when you level them up and max them out, because it does affect the appearance of the skill when using them. I will have the levels in which you'll get each of these skills posted on the video description once they're exported to YouTube. So I'll be sure to take care of that before exporting them. But right now, let's go ahead and get started on covering the meat and potatoes, which are the skills. So Sonic Slide is basically the first skill that Adol will get upon being shipwrecked on the Isle of Saren during your first fight with the three wolves, once you land on there. So basically what this does is this allows Adol here to basically slide forward and attack enemies. So basically leveling up and maxing the skill will improve the range of the slash, and you can also move while doing this. It does help Adol move a bit further, but this skill will eventually get replaced eventually later on, so you definitely want to switch to other skills. But this is actually a pretty decent skill to use overall until then. Rising Slash is going to be Adol's launcher skill. This basically allows Adol to not only launch enemies and oops, wrong one. Allows Adol to launch enemies up into the air and set up air combos. You can also use this to attack aerial enemies or enemies at higher elevations. So basically, you want to make sure that Adol has this if you're going to go for more XP level gains with this. This actually using this skill will allow you to in leveling up and maxing it out will improve the slash range of the attack. So basically, you want to use this to set up your aerial combos. Arc Shot is the next skill we're going to be going down based on power ranking. And this allows Adol to basically fire a projectile, a shockwave pretty much. So basically leveling up and mastering the skill will increase the size of the projectile and distance that it gets fired. So basically you want to use this if you want to keep Adol out of range. It's very decent to use during raid battles and hunt battles, especially if you want to keep your HP up as much as possible and keep them out of danger. Sword Impact is basically is this proximity move. This allows him to basically slam his sword into the ground, create a shockwave that attacks any nearby enemies. This also has a very unique animation when performed in the air. So basically, this is one of his few proximity skills he gets access to, but it winds up being outclassed by Force Edge once it gets maxed out. Basically, when you level up and max out the skill, it improves the radius and range of the attack too. So we're going to go ahead and rest up, get our SP refilled, and then we're going to switch to the next 4 skills on Adol's list. Fortunately, you cannot fast forward the sleep parts. So I don't think Adol has any dialogue for that, obviously. Might have to check that out. Alright, so let's go over his next skills. So we covered all the C ones, so we're going to go ahead and cover all of his B ones next. So we're going to get these set up. So anyway, the following skills he'll get access to for B rank power moves is Aerial Spin. This will probably be the first actual skill you'll learn on level up. And basically when Adol performs this, this is actually a proximity move that not only attacks enemies near Adol, but it also can be used to help lift those enemies and set them up for air combos. It's also a good follow-up to Rising Slash, where you can keep the enemies up in the air and destroy them up there for aerial combo finishes. So basically using this skill will allow you to improve the slash range and adds more of a gust effect on max out there. Very good to use if you're going for aerial combo finishes or setup for aerial combos. Force Edge is basically his next B rank skill. This is probably my personal favorite, even though it does show a fan direction slash. It actually when maxed out, covers behind him too. So this not only hits enemies not only in front of him, but it also hits all the enemies behind him as well. So given the fact that it's pretty easy to spam once you get more spirit elixirs used, you should probably keep this skill in Adol's kit at all times because this is actually very useful and it allows him to combat more enemies more easily. So we're going to go ahead and restore our SP again before we do our next skill. So coming up on his next skill is Aura Blade. This allows Adol to pretty much envelop his sword and create a huge slash effect that not only allows him to hit aerial enemies, but any enemies that are above him in elevation. This also creates some shockwaves in turn. So basically, maxing out this skill will improve the range of the swing, and it also creates some shockwave, few shockwaves here and there. So basically, you want to use this to hit any enemies that are above Adol or any flying enemies in general. This is also somewhat good to use in aerial combos. This can probably have a slam effect, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, coming up next is Sky Drive. This allows Adol to basically perform a somersault attack. And this basically unleashes a shockwave. Leveling up the skill will allow you to basically improve the slash range of your somersault slash, as well as extend the projectile for the shockwave. This actually makes another good use to use a projectile. And this is also very good to use in aerial combos. All right, we're going to rest up again so we can get his SP back up for the next skills. So coming up next on the skills after we get these put away is Tornado Sword, Thrust Storm, Blade Rush, and then finally Brave Charge. So we're going to cover Tornado Sword next. This is basically one of Adol's manual skills that you'll get from the Spiral Manual. You'll find that in the Towering Coral Forest. Basically, this allows Adol to create a tornado vortex, and this can be used to suck in enemies into it, and get. It's also one of his earlier DPS attacks, aside from aerial spin. So basically, when you level up and max out this skill, this improves the size of the tornado and the distance it goes. Thrust Storm is basically one of the last skills that Adol will spark on level up. And basically, this is probably his best DPS attack that he has in his arsenal. Very good for one-on-one matchups. And it also follows up with a forward thrust, too. So you can definitely move forward during the thrust. So basically, when you perform this, leveling up will improve the size of the thrust and the slash effect, too. You should always have this on hand. This is probably Adol's best DPS move to have in the entire game, though. Kind of stinks that it requires you to be at very late and have it very late in the game, though. And then finally is Adol's coming up is Adol's Blade Rush. This is probably his first A power move that he gets. Basically, when you level up and max out this move, it improves the slash range of your attacks. Plus, it also adds a projectile at the end of the third slash. So this can be also used as an in Havoc projectile attack too. It does come out slower when done in the air, though. And then finally, we've got Brave Charge. You'll get this from learning this from battling Master Kong. And since Adol is the last party member to learn this, this will be the last one he gets too. Basically, when you perform this skill, this allows Adol to charge forward and perform a slash attack. Leveling up and mastering the skill will extend the range of your charge as well as your slash attack. All right, hang on one second. I'm going to go speak with my dad. Okay, sorry about that. My dad was telling me he was leaving. I'll have to edit out that part. later on once I do highlighting. Sorry about that. But anyway, now that we covered all of Adol's skills, let's get this refilled for our next character, which is Loxia, coming up. So after we get Adol's HP back, we'll be covering Loxia next. Before we do that, I'm going to recommend skills for endgame. So the first one I'm going to recommend is Force Edge. This is going to be very useful throughout much of the playthrough once it gets mastered. So I recommend mastering this skill when you get this skill at last. This is not only going to be hitting enemies in front of Adol, but also ones behind him. Thrust Storm, once it becomes available, should be Adol's go-to DPS and single targeting skill. You can also use Blade Rush, which also gives you an added projectile once mastered, but it's also pretty darn good. If you want to have a little bit more variety, I recommend Skydrive, even though that's not nearly as strong as your Blade Rush is, but it does give you some air combo potential, as well as add a shockwave attack into the effect. Both of them are very decent. But if you want more power, Blade Rush is ideal. Skydrive is actually very good if you want to set up aerial combos. Brave Charge, once you get that, should also be mastered ACP because that's going to be his very big, huge hitting attack, as well as allows him to move forward at a pretty good pace. Anyway, I'll probably come up with a guide to recommend skills for each character. But there are skills that Adol does have that could be just as useful in raid and hunt battles, as well as air combos, among other things. So at a later date, I will set up a guide to recommend what skills you should probably recommend getting mastered first for those usages. So I'm going to go ahead and take a small break and get some water and rest up my throat for the next part of the guide. And when I get back, we'll get started with Loxia. So I'm RunnerStorm331 signing off for the time being, taking a break. And I'll catch you all in a bit for Loxia's guide.